the last 2 months have been incredible. Like I've made over 20,000 or on pace for that. So it's been incredible. Like the first month I made 11.2K projected.
So you made $11,200 last month?
Yes.
Okay. So how was this month? Or how is this month so far? Right now we have what is it? The 26th of May at the time of this recording.
Yeah.
So how is this month going for you so far?
Well, so this month has been just as good, if not better. And there's a few reasons for that. But this month I'm on pace to hit 10K again. I need 2 more closes. So wish me luck, guys and girls. Like 2 more closes. And the reason why it's a better month is because we've had some issues with the marketing and getting more leads in the calendar. So even with those issues, I've been able to hit pretty much the same amount of closes, which means that whenever we get things back, it's going to be even higher. So I'm aiming for 20K in the next 2 months.
Hey, welcome again on the channel. This is Markus Dunk here, and today we have our amazing client Guido here, who just recently cracked his 10K per month. And I'm super excited to have a chat with Guido here today about his journey, about his success, about his past a little bit as well. And yeah, enjoy.
I've been in this online space for a long time already, since I think 5 years ago. 18 years old, I started my journey. I quit university twice because I just knew that it was not going to be for me, and I was lost for a while. And I tried so many different businesses, drop shipping, Amazon FBA. I tried agency stuff, so many different things. And then it was just not working out as much as I wanted. And then I had a coach before, which was an accountability coach, Chris. It was a great guy. And he recommended me to you, Markus. And he just said, hey, set up a call, see what's, so I had no expectations, basically. It was just, let's have the call, let's see what happens. And at that point, I just needed help to figure out, like, was there a way out? Was it actually going to work for me? And it did. And it changed so fast. And I'm very, very grateful. So I finished the program, well, officially the 90-day program. I finished, I believe, 3 months ago, and 3 to 4 months ago. And the first 2 months, I was working with an agency, and it didn't necessarily work out for various reasons. And then the last 2 months, I've been working for Bass, who is a big figure in the coaching space online. And he has a new company called appointmentsetter.com, where we help people become appointment setters and place them. And the last 2 months have been incredible. Like I've made over 20,000 or on pace for that. So it's been incredible. Like the first month I made 11.2K projected.
This is what you sold, or is that income in your pocket?
So that's what I sold was over 60,000 collected in the first month.
Okay.
And then after that, like in commissions, I earned 5.6K. But in projected commissions, once all the installments come in, it's around 11.2 thousand.
You don't have to book them yourself, right?
No.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have a lot of experience doing appointment setting myself. Like I've done a lot of outreach. I've sent over 15,000 messages on Instagram and on email and LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. And I know the grind. I know how hard it is. And it's so refreshing to just open up my calendar and start my day. And I just have 10 more calls booked for that week. And all I wanted was a full calendar. And before, I had to do it all myself. I had to book the calls and take the calls and close them. Now I just show up because I have an amazing influencer I work for, that I show up and I have a full calendar. And it's the perfect situation. I just have to focus on one thing, one skill that takes me to 10K, 20K, and possibly 40K in the future.
Cool. I'm curious, like, what exactly have you been doing before joining our mentoring program and before we got to know each other? And do you want to go a little bit into that? Yeah,
so I touched a bit on that on the journey, right? I had a lot of different businesses. I was doing an agency, and I got that to a certain amount, about 7,000 per month. But that was revenue, not profit. Profit was about 50% of that. So I was getting results, and I had proof of concept of high ticket selling, but yeah, I lost all the clients because my fulfillment was not up to par. So then I had to get a job. I was actually delivering food for a whole year. I had a scooter. I was delivering during the winter in Germany, which is not fun. I fell like almost every day in the winter because there was black ice on the floor. So a few bruises that are on my body because of that, not only physically, but also mentally.
Yeah.
But that process made me so much stronger that when I found your program, Marcus, it was just, I could just put that same amount of effort of 10-hour days delivering food into closing, and I would make 100 times more money per hour. So it was just a blessing, and I was super grateful to have that experience.
Man, wow. Yeah, it sounds, the hustle is real. Yeah, delivering food in cold Germany. That's one of the reasons why I escaped there, to not be in the cold. I mean, now we met up here in beautiful Mexico in Puebla. The sun is shining and having this awesome conversation, man. That's really, really great. So what would you say, like, why did you decide to go into remote closing? Why did you decide to learn specifically sales, like over any other business model out there?
First I just want to say I'm in Mexico, and I'm super grateful for that too, because I live actually right there. That's where I live, and I don't know if you guys can see.
Maybe we can blend in some
Well,
some pictures or something like this. Yeah.
exactly. Like I live in a penthouse now with two other closers that went through the program, Louisa and Embrick, they're killers. They're even better than me in some aspects, and we just have this great community where we're pushing each other every single day. And I would never have met them without the program. So I'm very grateful for that too. But also, like in terms of in terms of the question, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I was just wondering why you decided to go into remote closing and sales specifically over any other business model that is basically out there that you could have done. And you tried a few, right?
I've tried a lot of them. I'm exactly like Marcus. I don't know if some of you have read the ebook that he has explaining his whole story and detailing that.
We'll put a link down below to that.
Yeah, it's a great story to go through, and you'll probably resonate a lot with the aspects if you've tried a few other online businesses. But I've done everything. I've like Amazon FBA, dropshipping, like I mentioned, agencies. I've had stupid like gift shop ideas. I've sold everything, and I just realized that I was not really building a skill, which is fine. Like if you're making money, that's fine. And you're going to build some kind of skills along the way, but nothing where if the world blows up, I would not be able to use that business model the same way. Drop shipping, for example, right? You're relying on somebody else to produce the products, and you're basically copying everybody else's product because you don't have a brand. Right. It's not white labeling. And you don't have any control over the shipping process or the delivery, the customer experience. So like what kind of skills are you building there? You're not many. Like
you're very dependent on things like Facebook ads most of the time, right?
Exactly.
Or Chinese suppliers or patent issues or whatever, just a lot of external factors coming into play.
Absolutely, exactly. And it's just not sustainable to build with that model, in my opinion. It's just long term, it's not going to work, drop shipping. Because you're competing against Amazon. Amazon has like same day delivery. Like how can you compete against that? And then Amazon FBA, that's great, but you're still relying on someone. Like this book called Millionaire Fastlane talks about the sense framework where you have the control. And if you're relying on another entity in order to produce sales, you're basically not a business owner. You're dependent on a mother company. Right. And as soon as they change even a little bit of their commissions, your profit margin is over, it's fine. But how can you build a long-term business relying on only one channel, right? If you want, you have to build a brand, you have to build your own website, Amazon, maybe Walmart. That's it, right? So then I decided, okay, instead of just building businesses because it's the new trend or things like that, and the new shiny object syndrome, why not focus on one thing, put all my energy into one thing and building a skill that whatever happens, I could always take a job and be fine. I'm not going to take a job, especially delivering food, but everybody needs sales. If you can convert a person who's interested in a person who's paying you 5,000 to 10,000, which is what high ticket sales is, or more, you just have a commission from that, and you have income. You just need to master one skill. And I think closing, honestly, is one of the best ones, because you have a few others like copywriting and appointment setting, which are great. They're also foundational for a business. But closing, ultimately, you still need to get on a call with a person, and you still need to close them, even if you attract them with copywriting or through appointment setting. You still need to finish and cross the line.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like what I always say, if you just start like any random business that's kind of trending right now, or whatever, or like the newest system, you're always like giving up control to some extent, right? Because what it does, it eventually gives you financial confidence. So that's something that really gives you peace of mind when you go to bed at night. We're probably already in a recession right now, or a lot of countries in the world are in a recession already. So especially in a recession, right? Businesses heavily do rely on good performing closers, remote closers, salespeople, right? And that's also something I want to touch on, because there's so many negative association with sales and in general in society. So someone who might be watching this right now and they think like sales is something where we twist arms or manipulate people or something like that, what would you tell them? What are we doing here right now?
Sales does have a wrong connotation. I think that people apply a wrong connotation to it. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, sales is about having a conversation with someone so that you can help them make the best decision for them, giving them all the information they need to decide what life they want to have after that. Yeah. Now, can you be a little bit more pushy, a little bit less pushy? Yes, of course. There's harder styles and softer styles, but ultimately, you literally have the power to change and impact somebody's life with a really crucial part of their lives. Like, it's such a fulfilling kind of thing. Like, you literally have power over the rest of somebody's life, and obviously, with great power comes great responsibility. Mm-hmm. So, I was never able to sell something that I didn't believe in. So that's something I really look out for. But if you believe entirely on something that you're selling, like, why would you not want to close people? Like, it's your responsibility to close them, because if you don't, let's say you're selling like a relationship package, people that have a relationship, they're having troubles in their marriage. Like, if you don't close them, they're like 50% divorce rate, right? What are the chances of them divorcing? They already have issues. Like, they're probably going to divorce. Yeah. Or let's say health, somebody who's overweight and has tried time and time again different diets on their own. They need external help. What happens if they don't commit and they don't put some amount of money so that they can feel they're fully invested in changing their health?
Like leverage, putting leverage on yourself by investing in yourself.
Exactly. Right? The reason why we charge high ticket is not just because it's valuable that way, because it's very valuable, the transformation, but also because the person commits. And like, wouldn't you want to be responsible for somebody losing like 50 pounds or 100 pounds or 50 kg, or somebody fixing their marriage so now they're much happier the rest of their lives and their kids are not messed up because their parents are not divorced? Like, what else do you need?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's like almost like replace the word selling with serving. I think that's really what a lot of salespeople, quote unquote, get totally wrong. They just focus on, oh, I need to close the deal, I need to get the money, I need to close this deal, instead of, hey, how can I really help these people? Is this even a good fit? The doorkeeper that we were talking about, your responsibility is not just to close the deal, but also to keep bad people out of the program that don't have, that are just not a good fit, right? So question I would have as well is, like, if you would look at our mentoring program, what did we help you with the most, like looking back now?
Honestly, I thought the biggest help was going to be like, oh, what am I going to do with the rest of my life, and how can I finally get to 10K,
which is awesome.
Which I did, yeah. And there's a reason for that. Like, there's a reason why people make only 2K after they start an opportunity, or they make 10K. Like, there's a lot of variables though, which we can get into if you want. But ultimately, I think what I understood most is that, like, the first thing that I heard in your video was, if you think your mindset is good already, that's exactly why you should work on your mindset.
Yes.
And when I heard that, I was like, nah, that's probably not for me. I've been in this game for 5 years. I've done different things. I'm like, I'm above this, right? But then as we're talking, I'm coming here to Mexico, and yes, I got good results, but I was still afraid. Like, I was waking up afraid because I was afraid of losing it. I was not in a winner mentality, and I was working 12 hours a day from my own like wanting, right? It was not forced on me. Yeah. But it was because I was afraid, and I'm kind of letting that go. But basically, it's my mindset. Like, that was the biggest thing. Like, people don't realize that it's not about some specific technique, although that's very important to understand the technique behind closing. But ultimately, you need to start with the basics, which is, are you actually going to allow yourself to succeed? Or are you going to be in your own way?
Yes.
Are you going to get discouraged when things go badly? Are you going to persevere? Are you going to do 10 role plays a week or 5 role plays a week? Or are you going to do 20 role plays a week? Right? It all comes down to choice, but choice is an emotional choice most of the time because you feel tired, you have your 9 to 5 and you're after that. Like, it's not easy.
If you don't feel like it one day, but you know you have to do, I don't know, maybe training call or something like that, you think twice about not showing up and not doing it because you have already invested into yourself, okay? You voted literally with your wallet on how important this is for you in your life right now. Now, then the other thing is, like you said, it really comes back to your mindset, to yourself. And with closing, that's the beauty of it, right? It is really you. If you do not make it work in closing, there's no external factor that can get into, like, that you can blame it on, like a Chinese supplier or something like that, or Facebook or Amazon, on why you're not going to be able to make it work. If you cannot get into a position, it's because your skill is not there and you're not good enough. You're not a good enough closer to convince someone actually working with you, right? And I have so many people reaching out to Marcus, I don't find an opportunity, like not our clients, but like people that are not in our program yet.
At first, like, I had a network myself of people I had worked with, bought courses from them and things like that. So because I'm from the B2B background and in the agency space, so I worked for an agency and I had some calls and they're great people. It's just, I realized I needed volume. Because if I can do 2 more calls a day than somebody else who's doing 2 less calls, even if they're making more money because they're closing a bigger deal, I'm going to progress so much faster. And I'm probably going to make more money because it's just a lot more volume. So I was working for that agency through my network. And then I realized I spent 2 months, which is probably too long. Another thing about fear, right? I was afraid of losing that position. So I decided, okay, it's probably time to find something else and do exactly what Marcus said. Because I kind of went a little bit away from what you usually recommend, which is Instagram influencers, which is a great market, honestly, now that I'm in it. So I realized, okay, let me do exactly what Marcus said. And something magical happens when you do exactly what somebody who's more successful than you tells you to do, which is you probably get very similar results to what they got, or better, or worse, but probably around the ballpark. So then I reached out to you and Carmina, and literally as I was leaving the agency, I had an interview with Paulo, which is my manager now, who's an incredible closer and teacher as well. And yeah, I did a role play, and then the next week I started. And that was my first month. That was the first week of April. And in that first month, I made 11K. So it's like I went from 0, actually negative 200, because I was doing my own outreach for the agency, to 11.2K projected, right? 5.6 collected commissions in a month, right? So it's like, it's not about like, oh, it's going to take time to get there. It's more about, do you have the right vehicle? Do you have the skill? And are you going to put in the hours? Are you going to put 10, 12 hours a day to close? Or let's say 8 or 4 hours if you have a job, right? But maybe you'll make a little bit less money, but you can grow from there. So yeah, it was thanks to you that I found the position.
Yeah, community, network, that's also some like, do you want to say a little bit about our community? I know that like we invited a few of our clients over here to Mexico, the ones that are crushing it to do these interviews and having a good time, going out, having fun. Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the community? Like, what was your impression when you joined the mentoring program? How have you been welcomed? How did everything play out right now? We have accountability partners and stuff like that. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So absolutely. Like, before I was in this program, I was in Berlin. And Berlin is a great city, usually more left-centered politically. So not a lot of people around me that had the same necessarily values or the same kind of need or wanting to get to 10,000 per month, 20,000, like-minded people, right? Nothing wrong. Each person has to decide what they want to do with their lives. Right. But I didn't necessarily have the best circle around me. I had a couple of really good friends that I'm still in contact with, but besides that, the vibe of the city was that. And I'm realizing now how much that impacted me. A lot of my money beliefs come from there. So when I went into this program, I was paired up with Louisa. And I got to be honest, at first I was like, oh, who's this girl from Germany and all that? She's going to be at the same, kind of ambition as I am. But as soon as I had the first call, I was like, yes, this is it. Like, we're going to crush it. She had the right motivations, right? The big thing is, do you have something you're running towards? Right, a motivation that you want to go towards, like, right, you want to help your family, you want to be free from the 9-to-5 life, you want it to be location free, financially confident, and then things that you're running away from, right. So what is that nightmare scenario that if it happens in 3 years and you're still in the same position as you are right now, what is that scenario that you don't want to happen? And she had both. She had a life that she wanted to go towards and a life she wanted to run away from. She literally quit her apartment before the program started. So that meant that she had to leave to Nicaragua before the program, a month after the program finished. So she had to make it work. And she did. And I don't think I would have had somebody better than her to be my accountability partner.
And she's here right now with us as well in Mexico, right? So we're gonna have her on an interview too, for everyone who's watching. So that's gonna be exciting as well to hear what she has to say about that. But yeah, man, that's great. What does your family or your friends or the people that, does your family know that you're crushing it and you're making now, consistently 10K per month?
Yeah, but I have to be honest, like, nothing against my parents, but when I quit twice university, and it's it's understandable, I quit 2 times in a row, 2 years in a row. One mechanical engineering and the second was business management. My parents weren't very happy. Like they thought, you could see in their eyes, right? But they probably were a bit disappointed, and I didn't have their support at that time, and that was hard on me, and I've processed over that. But basically, what I realized is that ultimately you have to prove to yourself. You have to prove to others. Sure, you can use that kind of negative energy to push yourself because everything is useful to kind of motivate yourself. But ultimately, they were not exactly there for me when I needed it the most at that point. But as time progressed and as I kept trying different things, they kind of understood that's what I wanted to do. So they left me alone. But now that I was able to break through, it was like my dad started to get into this online stuff, into crypto and things like that, which is super cool. He's subscribed to he's like 60 years old. So he subscribed to YouTube channels about crypto and these kids like traveling and having businesses. So he gets it now. And now he's so happy for me that I finally broke through and I finally don't have to worry. And that I finally found a thing that can actually give me a stability in terms of income without having to deliver food or do things that are flexible so that I can work on my side projects. And he's super happy for me. And my mom is kind of starting to get onto the boat as well. And she's starting to support me too. And I know she'll get there.
And your sister, you told me something about your sister too, right? That she's going into the online world as well a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my sister also, she quit university as well, and she was a bit lost for a while, but then she realized, I think I inspired her a little bit, but also from herself, she decided to go into the coaching space. She was a health coach and she got some clients. She was pretty good at it. But it was a bit hard for her to master the marketing part of it, to get a lot of leads. So then she now decided actually to join the program that I'm selling, appointmentsetter.com, and in order to
shout out to Bastian and appointmentsetter.com.
Shout out, hashtag. And basically, she just got certified. She has an interview tomorrow. We might be into talks about other things as well with her.
Awesome.
And this online space, it just works.
And sorry if I have to chime in here, but that's also something that I say is always super important, especially if you do high ticket and closing what we do. It's not that you want to hop on any type of offer that you can get your hands on. It's always you want to ask yourself, hey, would you close your mom on this as well? Would you enroll your mom, for example, if she would have the same pain points like the target audience, for example, that you have on a call all day? So just knowing now that your sister is actually in the program that you're closing for, that I mean, that really is right, and you're really impacting people. You're helping people as well with the offer, appointmentsetter.com that you're on. So
definitely, and both things work, appointment setter or closing. Ultimately, it's more about identifying what you'd like yourself to do in a day-to-day basis. Closing is great because you're talking to people really one-on-one, and it's good for more extroverted people, but also people that really want to have that communication skill, which is very important. So personally, for myself, I prefer closing, but whoever wants to decide whatever they want. Both skills are important, but again, ultimately, you still have to get on the call. You still have to learn how to close the person.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a good closer, you kind of know how to set the appointment and close someone in chat on actually booking a call, for example, right? I believe there's nothing wrong with appointment setting. I still believe closing is like the most fundamental skill that is there. There's like, you can just build on it, right?
Yeah. I wanted to add something to that actually. Sure. Like I was speaking today to a prospect actually, and I closed her. Hashtag bragging. But I told her like,
congrats.
Like I was talking to her and was like, if you become a closer, it's a lot easier to be an appointment setter because the principles are the same. But being an appointment setter and then becoming a closer, that's much harder of a transition. So closing is probably the best thing to do.
I mean, if you look at that way, what other areas of your life can you apply your closing skill?
True. I mean, so many. Like everything is closing. You might not call it that, but when you're at the bank and you want to, okay, that's a bad example. When you are,
when you're dating.
Yeah, dating. Like when you want to sell yourself to someone, like to go on a date or something, like you want to have the ability to understand what's your value that you offer, like understand the person, what they're going through, see if you can build a connection, if there's a rapport there, and then close them, which would be, going on a date or setting up something up. Or for example, any kind of work-related activities, or in business, like if you have employees, you need to constantly convince them on the vision that you have. So let's say you become a closer and then you want to use that to fund your next business. How do you think you're going to convince your employees to, follow your leadership?
Yeah.
You have to close them every single day that you are taking the vision to the next level, and they'll be rewarded by staying with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like nothing in life happens until like a close is made or a sale is made. Like if you're watching this right now on your computer or your phone, okay, the phone that you're holding in your hand or the computer that you're holding in your hand, someone was selling you on the idea of buying that phone or why you want to have that phone or why you desire that phone, right? And all the benefits that it's giving you right now is basically the value that you get out of it, right? So yeah, closing is really everything, the most fundamental business skill that is out there. Yeah, and it helps really someone like you. You've been struggling a lot at the beginning with your agency and all of these different things. With closing, you just get the cash flow right now. You don't do any delivery. You do not have to generate any of your leads, okay? Nothing like that. You just talk to people who are already interested in what the offer is and figure out if it's a good fit and then answer a few questions and just close them or help them to make a best decision for themselves at the end of the day, So what does your day-to-day life look like right now here in Mexico?
First, I go to the beach. No, I'm kidding. Not yet. We're not close to the beach. But a lot of people get into this program because they want more of a work-life balance, which may or may not be true depending on who you talk to. But in my case, I'm all about work. I mean, I care about life, but ultimately, I want to succeed at the highest level and get to a very high net worth for various reasons. But for me, I have a 12-hour day, so I start at 8 a.m. and I finish at 8 p.m., sometimes longer, usually longer. But, and I have as many calls booked as possible in that period. And then in between, let's say I start with a call at 8 a.m., then maybe I have a follow-up call after of 30 minutes where the person decides to join or not the program, right? If we need to have a second call. And then I have another 3 calls. Maybe I have a no-show in between, which is totally normal, and it's expected that some people are just not going to show and not going to say anything. It's part of the game. And, it's pretty much the whole day just getting on calls and talking to people. And then most importantly, updating the CRM, which is where you have all the notes of the people that you're talking to. And then, of course, in between, when I have some time, when I have a no-show, most importantly, I continue working on my training so that I can get to the next level. And that includes, right now, practicing the script, specific parts like objection handling to pre-handle it earlier in the call. And also working on the watching my own calls, which is super uncomfortable. But you made me realize exactly, and I'm still kind of getting to it. I'm watching my wins first, but that is very, very important so that you can see yourself literally, but without the pressure of having to listen to someone and see what you did wrong. So basically, calls, follow-ups, also dialing people and reaching out and all that stuff to see if they can hop on another call, and then ultimately closing people, which is the best part of it. It's where the money comes.
Love it, man. That's awesome. Yeah, and also at this level, we still have to talk about you might be having to get like a sales admin, so you don't have to do all of the manual work. Yes, you just get an assistant, and then you send your call notes and a voice message, and then they enter everything for you, so you don't have to take care of that part. At some level, like 10K definitely makes sense. And then the other thing is this, what you just said. So you have very high goals, and you're definitely hardworking. And previously, you haven't been that smart working, you could say, with delivery service and all of that. It was hard work in the winter for sure, but it was not really smart. It was not the right vehicle, right? So with closing, that's very important for you to understand if you're watching this, this is not passive income or some kind of this stuff, okay? This is like, if you really want to become financially very successful and you're willing to put in the work, this is the right thing for you. If you just want to sit on the beach, relax, and don't do anything, then this might not be the right thing for you, okay? That's very important for you and for everyone to understand. Yeah, a last question here, not the last question, but slowly coming to an end here. One question I still have here is, what would you say to someone that is maybe not 100% sure about, joining our mentoring program, or, they might consider joining right now, they're kind of on the edge, maybe they already had a call with me. What would you say maybe they're thinking, wow, it's just a very high investment, what would you say to someone like that?
Well, what's the price of not regretting your life in 20 years? What's the price of having an incredible lifestyle compared to what you have now? Even if you have a good job right now, like, you probably have golden handcuffs because you still have to show up, and you're not paid by value, you're paid by your time. So what happens when you have kids? How are you going to have kids and still work 80 hours a week? Even if you're making six figures, they're not really six figures because it's eating up your time. And also, when you're done with work, you're not actually there. You're not present because you're super tired. Your kids grow up with a empty-faced dad or mom because the person is not there. Like, what do you want your life to look like? And that's ultimately it. It's like, it doesn't matter how much you invest. That's not the point. Like, you can put the money together somehow. If you really want it, you can put the money together. The question is, what are you willing to pay in order to not have a life that you despise or that you have to settle for? Right? And it's very, touching on what you just said before, it's very attractive to have like, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. Yeah, the average millionaire, but we're not millionaires yet. On the way, maybe you're very close to that. But we have to focus on one thing. If you go back in history, everybody had apprenticeships. It was about learning a trade, and then you would build your business from that. That's how you would do things. So just because we have social media, that doesn't mean things change. The whole passive income thing, it's a reality when you have $10 million to invest and you get 5% dividends every year coming in. That's when you do that. You don't use the market to build wealth. You use the market to grow your wealth. So what happens in 10 years? Like, what if you have a skill and then in 10 years you're able to produce money all the time, and you literally can start any business because you know how to do sales? Like, if you don't have sales, you don't have anything. You don't have developers, you don't have designers, you don't have anything. You need salespeople. So what if you were that crucial person, that linchpin, like Seth Godin says, where a business completely breaks apart if you're not there? How much leverage could you have in your life if you had that? So forget about the investment. Forget it, figure out the logistics. But besides that, realize what's the transformation you want to have. And if you're not willing to put in the work, then you need to accept the price that you have to pay of not putting in the work and not investing.
Yeah, I can hear a lot of people like, yeah, it might be working for Guido, but it doesn't work for me, you know. And that's the exact same thing. If you cannot make it work, guess on who? Like, it's on you, right? And that's what I really love, because personal development and closing really goes hand in hand. The more you develop as a person and understand all of these concepts and understand more about yourself, the easier it's going to be there in a call with someone where you may be talking about an investment of like $20,000, $30,000 or something like that, or at the beginning maybe it's just 5,000 or 10,000 or something like this. And it is a big decision for someone. If you haven't done the work on yourself, how can you be there for someone, help them make that decision? And if you have never invested into yourself, high ticket, how do you expect to close someone on investing with you, right? So yeah, on that point, I mean, Guido, is there anything else that you want to share? Anything else that you want to say or mention before we wrap things up here?
I mean, ultimately, it's up to whoever's watching this interview to understand, what do you want out of life? Like, really take a step back and understand what does success look like for you, and what is the price you have to pay in order to buy your freedom. And there's a reason why some people do this program and they have success faster or slower, and there's a reason why, you know, some people don't even want to join in the first place, or they join but they're not doing it ideally. That's not the majority, that's the minority, I think. But those people are weeded out very quickly.
I mean, you know everyone in the program, like
yeah,
like
everybody's great. Like I haven't met anyone that has dropped off. But the key is, there's a reason why I made 11K in the first month. Yes, I have some sales experience as well that helped a lot. But ultimately, it doesn't matter if it takes you a few months more, you can still get to 10K. And the way you get to 10K is, if you go through the program, is do more role plays. Like, I was doing 20 hours of role plays a week, 22 hours, when most people were doing 7 to 8. So I fucking deserved the 10K. You know, I deserved the 11K. Like, I put in 3 weeks of work when some people were putting 1 week of work. And I did that for 3 weeks. So I had more progress in the third amount of the time. So it's about effort ultimately. Smart work is great, but ultimately, what is the work you're willing to put in, so that in the future you can go from working 7 days a week to 6 days a week to 5 days a week to 4 days a week to 1 day a week, and then you don't have to work anymore. That's real passive income. It's when you've put in the work ahead of time, and then it just compounds. That's when you really deserve it. Because you don't deserve to be at the beach right now, especially if you haven't joined this program.
Love it, man. I mean, on that note, I would say let's wrap it up here. I think it was an amazing conversation. Really appreciate you like taking the time today, you know, yeah, if you're watching this right now and you're interested in learning more about what we do and what Guido does, and if we might be able to help you out as well, then we're going to put a link down there somewhere in the description that you can just click and yeah, and then book a call directly with me personally. And yeah, I'm happy to jump on a call with you, figure out if we can help you with this, and yeah, and then we take it from there. So once again, Guido, thank you so much. And yeah, everyone, you guys take care. Bye-bye.
See you in Mexico.